I've got Rocky and Bruce from Living Sacrifice. Bruce is a returner, and Rocky, this is your first time on the podcast. Just really excited for you both to be on here. We're going to talk all about the hammering process, your guys' upcoming show at Furnace Fest, and I'm sure other things will come up. But before we dive into all of that, how you doing today, Bruce, and how are you doing today, Rocky?
I'm good.
All good here.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Life as
We
well?
appreciate it.
Love it. Yeah, Bruce, I know you said that you were just in Arkansas with the guys. Were you happening like do a little rehearsing? Is that what was going on?
Yeah. We're starting to rehearse. Actually, I mean our first rehearsal was maybe almost a month ago, where we were kind of like basically trying to relearn some songs that we haven't played in a long time or even at all live. There's always, when you put out a record, there's always a few songs that you never get around to like, performing. And especially, we've got at this point like 8 albums, so it's kind of like, picking and choosing stuff. Although we mainly just stick to the last 5 records. We don't do a ton of the old stuff that I didn't sing necessarily, but every now and then we will, and during those times sometimes we'll have DJ come and sing them and stuff like that. But yeah, this was our second rehearsal, and it's coming together.
They're real. I love it. How does it feel to rehearse some songs that maybe you haven't played for 20 plus years? Is it like riding a bike where it just kind of comes back pretty naturally for you guys? Or is it something where it's like, ooh, this is something we're going to have to really relearn here?
It takes some work.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't played something in 20 years, it can come back to you, but there's no muscle memory there, So a lot of these songs that we play, pretty regularly or pretty often, it's like, it's no big deal. But yeah, there's some difficult ones for sure.
Well, you mentioned too, like there's some songs, obviously that just kind of never get played. You record them, they go on the album, and that's kind of the last you probably have a relationship with it, or at least for some time. And I'm curious, like I've thought about this for like other bands I really like, bands that, especially bands that have put out a large input or output of albums and songs. And certainly you just get to a point where some of these songs might be 20 years old and haven't been played for a very long time, or if ever. And I've always been curious, like how artists relate to those songs, right? Like, your most popular songs, for example, right? Like the songs that you're most well known for, right? Like those are the songs you're always going to be playing live. And you have like a continued relationship with those songs for a long time. But those songs that maybe just, they only made the album, but then you just never play them ever again. I'm always curious, like, do they kind of feel like the forgotten children, or like what's your, like, I'm sure you're proud of them, but is it kind of a thing where it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that we did that. Like, I don't know. I'm just curious, like how you relate to some of those songs that either you haven't played in a long time or maybe have never played before.
Rock.
It's easy to forget like what you've done, what you haven't done. I mean, it's usually like we'll play the songs we think are the coolest and easiest to do at first, and then we just start playing those, and it's easy to forget. Like, hey, we got like 9 more songs, on the record we could play, but once we get going, I mean, that train just keeps going because we don't have a lot of time, like, to rehearse our stuff. So it's a lot of stuff does get put on the back burner, but after we do a record, it's usually like, what do we think's the coolest thing, and we'll do that, and then we'll get to the other ones when we get to it, if we get to it.
And that's a big if sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times there's always songs that just kind of pop out, and it's just kind of like the obvious ones, like when you're sequencing the record, and you're like, you want to put the bangers up front, and but keep a few towards the end as well. But relationally, I mean, I feel like I like them all. I think they're all good, but there's definitely a certain amount of difficulty in some of them. And because we're not full-time touring or playing, it's not it's not super easy to just pull it out or jump right in. If we were constantly playing, and touring, would be a lot easier. for us to work through those songs. And you know, I mean, but you know, we all have day jobs, and Rocky's the only one that actually plays for a living. So he's writing and recording soundtrack stuff. So
Dang, wow. Wait, what like Rocky, what are you doing just like music stuff? Like what do you do for that?
I work full time for Tripwire Interactive, the video game company out of Atlanta. And so for the last 3 years, I've been doing the music for Killing Floor 3 that just came out.
Oh, nice.
And then I'll do some movies or something in between there when I have time. But yeah, every day is the 9 to 5 is playing metal for.
I love that. So even like because we've interviewed a number of artists where their day jobs is kind of like doing like commercial license kind of music. So I mean, it sounds like that's what you're doing, but like you're doing specifically and exclusively metal.
This game is all metal.
Wow, that's super
but you
cool.
d- you do you
That's
do movie soundtrack stuff too as well.
Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah. That's
the a
totally
lot of
different.
that retro like 80s rock and synth and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of that anymore. I'm doing the Barn 3 right now, and that's like some of that retro stuff. But I do a lot of that. Um, what, but I don't do it so much anymore because that the 9 to 5 job is music every day,
right.
Monday through Friday. So
Well, so kind of along those lines, then, like Rocky, like kind of again, we talked to Bruce a couple years ago about kind of how he got involved with like Living Sacrifice and obviously his own music journey. So yeah, like what got you involved in music and how did you get to Living Sacrifice in 1998?
well, I've always been doing music one way or another. I started getting instruments for Christmas and stuff like that when I was like 10. So from 10 on, I've been playing. And then when I met Living Sacrifice, however long ago that was, many eons ago.
When the
19,
Earth fully formed.
1991, 1990. I
Oh,
don't know. We
hey, yeah.
we played a show with his band, or several shows, a couple of shows, because he was in a metal band called Chalice, and they were like, you know, they were a killer band, and so I actually played with a couple of your bands. I don't know. Did we ever play with Six Shine when you were playing drums for them?
I
No.
don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rocky was like always like a part of the music scene, in and around Little Rock and everything. And him and Lance became friends because they were the two best metal drummers out there, as far as I was concerned. I don't know. Can't name of a better one.
So it sounds like for you, Rocky, you just like, you're playing shows and you play some shows with Living Sacrifice with your own bands, and that's just kind of like how that relationship started to form.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just
That's
being
pretty.
friends. It's like, and then they needed a guitar player, and Lance said, "Hey, come over and jam with us, and we'll see what happens."
Now, now Rocky was a drummer though, but but
but
Lance
but
is like, I
Yeah. So
think,
how do you recruit a
but
drummer and you're
I
like,
think
oh, that guy's going to
Lance
be
is
our
like, I
guitar
think
player?
Rocky plays guitar, and I was just like, really? Okay, awesome. It worked out.
yeah, yeah.
27 years later.
Do you have any fun stories about like that? Maybe it was that kind of first time you guys are jamming out, but was there any fun story where maybe you're coming in and Bruce is giving you that look, kind of like it's like a real job interview, but it kind of isn't? Like I don't like. Do you have any kind of fun story around that kind of first time where you're trying to figure out whether or not this is going to be a thing with Living Sacrifice?
It it was actually really easy because I had known him for a long time already. So it was kind of just, I don't know, weird because it was just us jamming. It really didn't feel like an interview or anything. Like it didn't matter if
Just
it worked out or not. It was just fun. It was
right, just
fun.
friends hanging out. That's great. So that happened in '98, and then a couple years later, Hammering Process comes out. So that's the first album that you're on, Rocky. And so yeah, let's chat all about Hammering Process because obviously it's 25 years, which I would imagine for both of you, it's probably pretty hard to believe that was 25 years ago now.
Yep.
I don't know if it's one of those things where it just feels like it was just yesterday or not.
It doesn't
It
feel
feels
like
like
yesterday.
But it
Feels
doesn't
like a
feel like 25 years
long
ago
time
either?
ago. What's that? What's that, Mason?
Well, does it feel like it's 25 years ago, or does it even feel like longer than that?
Just like a lifetime, really, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a daughter that's 26, and Rocky's got kids just as old, so, you know. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lifetime ago. I mean, I think for us, it's just we're just astounded that we still get to play these songs and that people want to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's cool for us because it gives us an excuse to get together and play and hang out together because it's always fun when we do it, but it's also pretty hard work, you know. I mean, you get, you know, it's a commitment after this long, you know. I mean,
Right.
but also a blessing, you know, and just being, you know, fortunate to that people still like the songs.
Yeah, talk about kind of just the time then, 25 years ago, of what that was like. If I remember right, like I think Jimmy Eat World was starting to like make music with Pro Tools. Like, were you guys at that point even using Pro Tools? Was it like what was recording back in 2000? What was that like?
the Hammering Process was the first Pro Tools record because y'all did Reborn on ADAT still, didn't you?
Yep. Yep. Correct. Yeah, we did Reborn with Barry Pointer and in Little Rock, and he was using digital tape, and he was also using a half inch or quarter inch analog to record the drums. I think he had like I think he was able to do 8 tracks on analog tape, and so he would sync his analog tape with his ADATs, his digital tapes, to, and that's how we recorded Reborn. By the time Hammering Process came around, 2000, he had converted everything over to Pro Tools, and we were actually the first album, the first recording Barry did on Pro Tools. So it was like this weird learning process with all of us. If you remember, Rocky, it was, you know, it was just a trip. I'm sure you were just like sitting there looking at what we're everything's in a computer. I know I was. I was just like, and we kept saying rewind the tape.
Yeah. You rewind.
Can you rewind?
That had to have been really early on, because like, didn't Pro Tools like was it maybe like 98 or 99 when like that started to become like?
I don't know, but
I don't
I mean,
remember
it was pretty.
I don't know the timeline, but that 2000 feels
It was
early
pretty
to
early.
me
Yeah, yeah.
for Pro Tools.
I would think so.
That's impressive. What was it, something when you were, I mean, obviously there's probably the almost feeling like you're having to speak a new language, where there's probably that awkwardness to it. But did it, when you're like listening to it, when you're recording and then you're listening back to some of these recordings, did it sound better? Like, I'm just curious, like, was it something where you're like, oh yeah, I can see why we're moving over to this Pro Tools thing?
For me, I didn't notice that, and even recording it was still very normal, like
Mm.
the way I was always used to doing it. It was just seemed a lot faster. Like if you needed to edit something real quick, that it was a lot faster than
Yeah.
having to break out the erasers on the 2-inch tape or something. Rear,
Yep. Yep.
doing the to find where it was gonna be, but yeah, it was just way faster and it was much more efficient and awesome to work with anyway. So he, his his newness to it was also like kind of cool because we were all just like, I don't know if we were the first band that he recorded
We
with,
were. Yeah. I
but
mean,
it
I
seemed like he.
yeah, I distinctly remember that. Like, I mean, I know he had it up and running and he was like working on it and messing around with it, but I think we were the first like actual recording he did. Or at least that's the way I remember it. But yeah, I agree. Like I didn't notice a difference in the sound at all. It was just the efficiency of edits and,
Yeah.
not using a physical, tape that you had to pull out, mark, cut, put back, splice it back together, things like that.
Or the track limitations either. Like we
Yep.
could 5 harmonies to something, and even if we didn't use them, we could do them and see if we liked them, or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
However many overdubs you do, just go for it.
Yeah. With the analog tape,
When
you're
I'm
limited to, however many tracks that the the particular 2-inch tape holds, which I think, in most cases is 24. And then if you went up to 48, if you doubled it, then you had two completely different tape machines synced up running together. I mean, we never did that because we didn't have the budget. But like even the 2-inch analog tape, if you see those tapes, they're just massive, and they're these massive reels. I still have them. I have all the old ones from our first three records, and our first two records rather. And they're just they're just big old reels of tape, and they were expensive. So like when we would record something with the label, they would buy as much tape as they thought they needed for an album, but no more. So it's like you didn't have tape to burn because we didn't have big budgets. Now, granted, all the big
right.
major labels bands probably had, you know, 10 reels of tape. We had two, or whatever. If they needed more, they would splice it together. It's there's infamous story about how many edits went into recording "And Justice for All," just the drums on 2-inch tape. So
Yeah, it sounds like it was just like the efficiency process that just makes this so much better, which I'm probably like I would imagine like makes it feel then at least from like the label perspective like they're getting more bang for their buck because now you don't have to deal with these you're not limited physically by how much tape you've got. Like now you can really spend some like actual time really trying to figure out like what's the sound what's the sound, what's the writing, what's the song structure we really ultimately want.
yeah. I mean, the other thing I remember is like the drums had to be one full take on tape. Like there was no way to really
Mhm.
punch the drums in to edit or to like say unless there became a quiet part where the drums kind of faded out, then you could punch in and start the song back up. But if it was just a consistent song, heavy all the way through and the drums are just going the whole time, if you were to stop and then punch back in, it would just like you're not hitting the cymbal the same way, so it's going to sound like a cut. And with Pro Tools, you were actually able to do that. So you that was the first time where we didn't have to do a take of the song where the drums are just not stopped. If there was something that Lance didn't like in one part, he'd be like, "Oh, I want to fix that one part or whatever." We just cut in right there, and with the editing capabilities, you were able to blend it to where it sounded natural.
That's just so different now, and now it's like it's just so cool to see, like there are a lot of albums now, like good albums that are essentially made in a person's bedroom. Like you can just do it from your office at home for the most part. And even if you want like actual real drums, like you can pretty much do everything, vocals, guitars, whatever, from somebody, you can do that from your bedroom. And then even if you want real drums, then you can just, record that elsewhere and then you throw that all together. But it's just like cool to like hear like the way you guys are talking about this, like where we're at now 25 years later, like that was the precursor. Like the Pro Tools was like the first time that was even going to become a possibility, that here we now have entire albums that are being made out of bedrooms.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, just light. It's amazing how that technology just like changes everything. So when you guys look back now at this album, like yeah, like how do you think about it in terms of the career? Obviously there's kind of the change in terms of obviously you becoming the lead vocalist, Bruce, and so maybe that kind of maybe you think of like living sacrifice in like certain parts, right? So there's the albums that you aren't the lead vocalist, and then you obviously Do Become, and then you've got obviously kind of the solid state, those at least like kind of, late 90s, early 2000s solid state records. And then there's the hiatus, and then those last two albums. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious, like in terms of the way that you think back to Hammering Process kind of being, the middle album of all of the discography. How do you think back to it? Does it feel like this is the most popular album? Does it feel like this is the album we're most proud of? Like, I'm just curious, like when you guys look back at this album, what does it mean to you?
Well, I mean, Rocky's obviously got a completely different perspective since it was the first one he was a part of. But yeah, I mean, we were very motivated and excited to be able to do it, and it was a weird time because we felt like Reborn was just such a strong album, and then the both Chris and Jason decided that they didn't want to tour or be part of a full time band anymore. It was we were kind of like just like, well, how are we going to replace these guys? They're not really replaceable. And so that was the struggle, and it was and honestly it was, even the label was just kind of like, yeah, send us demos. They're like that. I think everybody was like real hype on Reborn, and it was just like, oh, never mind, just kidding. And then I'll never forget this. We were actually, I don't think we were recording the record yet, but maybe we were, but we played Cornerstone 99 maybe, or no, it was 2000. They had asked us to play the main stage. So Rocky had been playing with us for a while and doing shows and stuff like that, and everything. And then Arthur had come on board not long after that, but this was definitely the biggest stage we'd ever played. And so it was kind of a big deal. It felt like a big deal for us because it was like 20,000 people, in what would typically be like a massive amphitheater or arena or something like that. And so it was like, I remember it was one of the first shows that we played where like I felt nervous again. But I remember after that show, everybody from the label, including Brandon, was like, that was awesome. You guys, crushed it. And it was kind of like we kind of put all the doubts, to rest. It was kind of like, because, I mean, bands are like a chemistry of different players and people, and how they play together and how they interact, and even perform on stage and stuff like that. And there has to be a
Mm-hmm.
chemistry. And when people leave, that aspects of that gets lost. So
Mm-hmm.
anyways, that was my perspective of, was like, it was kind of like, oh, we have to kind of like rebuild this thing. But from the get-go, me and Lance were writing songs. I think we had two or three already written before Rocky joined, and then Arthur, and then we all collectively kind of like participated in writing the rest of the album. And Rocky himself, like, I mean, just came up with super melodic parts that were like, you know very different than anything we'd done before, and also from a guy that had just really devoted himself to playing guitar like 2 years prior. It was like it was pretty awesome. I felt super good about the record when we were doing it, and even now if I go back and listen to it, like I mean, I have a little, some production, you know uh things that I would rather be better and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm super super proud of it, and I do think it's, I mean, I think it's one of our best albums, and it tends to be one of the albums where over the last 20 years, the majority, if you come to, you see a live set, it's like it's going to be like heavy on Hammering Process songs, like usually three or
Mm-hmm.
four. at a minimum, you know, as opposed to any other album where it's going to be like one or two or three or whatever.
Yeah, the sense I've gotten about the album, as somebody who, you know, has seen you know, or I've talked to a lot of people who are huge Living Sacrifice fans in particular, and the sense I've gotten is that Hammering Process probably is the favorite album. Like maybe Reborn is kind of the one I'll hear maybe next to that, but it certainly seems to be that Hammering Process is the one I hear the most.
Yeah.
Those two for sure.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's where we gained like a much larger fan base, starting with Reborn, but then also continuing with Hammering Process. And a lot of that also was due to the fact that we toured more than we, you know, had ever done prior or any other time in our career. I mean, we were doing, you know, 120 dates a year,
Wow.
and so playing that much, you know, sort of pre-internet, definitely pre-video on internet, you know, where people could like post videos and stuff like that. That's how you got out there, and that's how people saw us, you know. So, you
Hmm.
know, yeah.
Rocky, for you, like, how do you look back at this album? What does it mean for you personally, especially knowing this was your first album with Living Sacrifice?
Oh, it's awesome. It's always nice looking back, and
Does it kind of feel like your firstborn?
yeah, in a lot of ways it is. Yeah, I never like seriously like tried to play lead guitar or anything like that, and so I look back at that and I'm like, where did I get some of this stuff from? Because I it has to be from like playing live with these guys, like before the hammering process, and having to learn what Jason was doing and stuff like that. That had to help me and inspire me to go to certain places, and because I hadn't had to do that before. So it probably just knowing that I could do it really like gave me like the energy to like just go for it, that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
that's the first thing, and it's actually a record that people really like that
Hmm.
a lot. So I mean, what I'm doing right now, I couldn't have done if I hadn't done that.
Right. Yeah, like it gave you that like confidence, probably even that you could like do other, obviously not just Living Sacrifice music, but other music as well.
Yep, absolutely.
It's just so interesting to me that you go from being a drummer pretty much your whole music career. And again, like obviously it sounds like you knew how to play guitar to some degree, but it's interesting like you go from being a drummer to now you're entering into Living Sacrifice as a guitar player. And like you mentioned, like there's I'm sure Living Sacrifice music that you had listened to that probably helped you kind of get a sense on like what kind of parts do I want to write, and how do I want to play in this band. But I'm curious, like, were there other artists at that time that you were listening to that you kind of had an ear for that was maybe helping you kind of get a sense on like how what can I bring to the writing of Hammering Process?
Well, the first thing was just being such a big fan of Living Sacrifice. I'd liked
Yeah.
Living Sacrifice for so long. It's like I know what Living Sacrifice sounds like. So that's not, it was easy to go there because it's like this is a Living Sacrifice riff. This is definitely inspired by that, by Second Death or whatever.
Right.
But like Sepultura, Meshuggah, Slayer, stuff like that, all that kind of stuff was kind of in the mix and kind of always in the background. So I think everybody was still listening to Meshuggah at that time, weren't we, Bruce?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, the funny thing about Meshuggah is like we had done Reborn. Reborn was like out, and we went on tour, and this guy, I'll never forget. It was I think it was Oklahoma City or Oklahoma, Tulsa or Oklahoma City. It was like one of the first shows of a tour. Well, first shows of one of these tours, and it was kind of we were in between situation where Corey Brandon was playing guitar with us and you know filling in because we hadn't filled that spot yet. And so this guy brought this cassette tape and it had Destroy, Erase, Improve on one side, and it had None on the other side of the cassette tape. And oh no, that's farther back because that was with Jason was still in the band. So it was still Jason and Chris. Anyways, we heard Meshuggah for the first time after we did Reborn, and we just like were blown away. We just couldn't believe it. It was just like, what are they doing? And so um yeah, I mean it definitely on us personally, like me and Lance, you know, we took little bits and pieces from that, and then, when Rocky came on board, we all kind of had a vibe for it, because also we had started something with Reborn, because Reborn is completely different than the first three records. Although there
Mhm.
is a very thrash element to it still. It's definitely not as like extreme, just full on death metal. And then we were older too, so we were like, in our mid 20s, and we were like, where do we go from here? How do we expand, or build upon this? And we just weren't precious about like who we were stylistically. We were like, within the genre of metal, like, where can we take this, and how can we, you know, be more effective as a band? And in our minds at that time, it was actually to simplify the music to a certain degree, not in a songwriting way. I feel like our songwriting actually got way better during that time, especially the hammering process, because we tapped into like more actual song structure, and we had parts and riffs that actually gave space. It wasn't just like, got 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 the whole time, or double picking the whole time or anything like that. It was just kind of like, oh, let's open this part up. It's only going to be bass guitar and feedback or whatever. And I
Mm.
loved that about it. I felt like it gave our music more dynamic presence, and actually like really kind of like challenged me to try to sing differently, which I did do, and to varying degrees of success or failure, depending on who you ask. Like there's like
Well, the other
that was the first album where we incorporated like like cleaner vocals and singing and stuff like that.
right. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely elements of sort of like an almost new metal like elements to a hammering process, especially in comparison to like some of those previous albums. And like honestly, even the album artwork feels a little bit like of the time of new metal. Like there's kind of this, I don't know, it kind of feels technological, kind of it feels digital. The album artwork, again, in comparison to some of the like very metal looking previous albums. So I don't know. There was something like stylistically that felt like there was a little bit of a shift with hammering process in comparison to the previous albums.
Possibly. I mean, I've got a different opinion of that, but
Oh, I'm curious. Like that's been my impression of the
no,
album,
and
but yeah, I'm
and a
curious
lot of
your own.
people share that impression for sure. But like well, I don't know that any of us knew what new metal was back then. Well, no, it was pretty much a thing because it was all through the 90s. Yeah, I mean that definitely wasn't necessarily a goal, but like definitely some, creating something that had more accessibility and had, just song structure, as far
Mhm.
as that goes. But man, I don't think I listen to any of those bands. I would say like a lot of my stuff, my ideas came more from like post-hardcore bands and things like that.
Mm, mhm. Mhm, mhm. Yeah, like I definitely don't think it's like a new metal album by any means, but it sounds like it kind of was a thing where if there is any new metal kind of element to it, it
Oh
was
yeah, no, people brought
accidental.
that. Lots of people brought that up. Like you're not wrong, and it's fine. I mean, it is what it is now. I think at the time I was like, what do you mean? We're not new metal.
Right. It might have been a thing where like any sort of metal that had any level of dynamics to it probably was seen as like new metal or alternative metal at the time, just because I don't know there was
I
and like you said, like there was maybe more dynamic going on with
I
the
think it
sound.
had to do with some of the simplicity of the riffs.
Mm.
It's
You know.
groovy. That's the thing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And new metal was very groovy,
Yes.
especially at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. All fair.
So, and again, like I think maybe like what also at least for me drives it home is the album artwork. Again, just kind of feels like a new metal kind of album artwork. Again, like obviously I know that's not what you guys were trying to do, but it just kind of has that digital sort of new metal turn of the century kind of
I
vibe.
don't know
Yeah.
what we were trying to. I think we just let them go with it. It's like, oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, we weren't really, I don't know. We weren't smart enough to like write a you know, a radio record, but like also, you know, like metalcore was all of a sudden like it was kind of becoming a thing. I don't even know if they
Right.
had that term yet, but like, you know, even going back to Reborn, you know, there was no such thing as metalcore. But like all then, you know, in the early 2000s, you know, lots of bands came
Yeah.
up, and part of that was, you know, screaming and you know, clean vocals and stuff like that. There was a ton.
Yeah, and you
There was
guys
a
were
ton
kind of
of our
doing your
fans that
part.
were really pissed off that we had clean vocals. There was a website called there was a website I did an interview for, oh, actually around the time of Infinite Order, called nocleansinging.com or something like that. Do you remember that, Rocky?
Yeah.
Like and he was like, I'm really glad you guys don't have any clean singing on the new record. That was the Infinite Order, not Hammer Process. But yeah, there were some people that were
Right.
just like, "Oh yeah, you guys really wimped out and whatever." But we were just, man, we were just
Did they see you as like sellouts?
probably, but we were just trying different stuff. It's like, man, you know, I mean, you know, 5 albums in, it's kind of like, well, you know, just stay the same or evolve.
Right. Was that Matt Putman that was like mostly doing the clean singing, or what was it like a combination of you and him, or who was kind of primarily doing the clean singing?
It was mm, uh, all of us. Rocky did some singing.
Oh wow.
Uh, Arthur, myself, Matt, Lance, no singing. But
Dang.
all of
So I mean, th-
all of us tried different, you know, aspects of it and harmonies. Like we were just talking about it this weekend when we were together, talking about one of the songs that we were working on, you know, for the show. And Rocky Rocky reminded me, he was like, yeah, that's me. I did like 5 harmonies. Like I'll listen to it and I'll be honest, like I don't know who it is sometimes. I'm like, because it's all like this. You know, Barry at the time he would say, okay, harmonize this way, and he'd stack them so that it sounds like, you know, big and, you know,
right,
full.
right.
And so it kind of gets lost. But also sometimes there was a blend of voices. Sometimes, you know, me and Matt or me and Rocky, and so it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. And the other thing we figured out this weekend is that none of us were really very good at it. but but we did it. We did it anyways.
So what does that mean for a live show? You know, we'll talk about Furnace Fest here in a second, but what does that mean for a live show? Like, how do you divide that labor of clean singing if it sort of was one of those things like we don't actually know who was singing this part?
We don't do it.
It's just you just make the crowd do it. That's actually probably the best thing to maybe do.
We're all just kind of, we're basically trying to figure out the best you know, solution, because you know, because we don't remember, it doesn't really matter, and it's not like, it's kind of like we're relearning it anyways. So it's like whether I sang it originally and I want Arthur to do it now, doesn't matter. It's like as long as he can do it and play it and sing it, I'm gonna try to get him to do it.
Hmm.
But if I have to
Fair
do
enough.
it, then it's like there's all these other things I have to do. But like the one of the things that is killer. Speaking of Furnace Fest, one of the things I love about it is that, we get to play with, other bands that are our friends that we've known for years and years and years. I mean, going back 20, 30 years. And so
Mhm.
with each appearance that we've done, we will bring somebody up to do something or play with us. Like Joe sang some stuff on the first Furnace Fest, one of our old songs. And then a few years ago we had the guys from Demon Hunter come up and we covered a Pantera song. I mean, that's
Mhm.
really like one of the awesome things about Furnace Fest is you know seeing something that can only happen there because everybody's there in the same spot. And
Mhm.
and it'll only happen one time. It'll never happen again.
Mhm.
And so we're working
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
something like that for this year as well in some of these songs. And and thankfully I won't have to sing that song if it works out.
Exactly. That's the benefit of it. You'll take a little breather.
Yeah,
Yeah, what you're talking about though with Furnace Fest is what Cullen and I have talked about a lot whenever we talk to other bands about Furnace Fest or when we like kind of do a reflection episode on Furnace Fest, but it truly does feel like a family reunion. And even though like I might not know everyone there, you can tell that other, especially for the bands, especially some of these old legacy bands, like you can tell that like, oh my God, like I haven't seen that person in forever. And like it kind of it feels like that family reunion kind of vibe. And maybe that's kind of the impression, or maybe it's not the impression you've gotten of Furnace Fest, but that certainly is what I've experienced at Furnace Fest, and I can speak for Cullen on that too.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's a cool vibe. So yeah, we're super looking forward to seeing you guys play at Furnace Fest because you guys played. Yeah, a few years ago, you guys played the Shed. I'm guessing you guys will probably play the Shed again this year, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, you are a Shed band. Like I'll be honest. Like as long as Furnace Fest goes on, and as long as Living Sacrifice plays at Furnace Fest, you're probably going to be in the Shed. It's just you just are kind of a naturally a Shed band.
I'm down with that. I like the Shed. That's great.
Is it like maybe the coolest venue you guys have ever played?
It's one of them. Yeah.
The Shed specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool environment to be in.
Yeah, I like it. It's got a great vibe. It is a little it can be a little echoey.
Oh, very much
So,
so. Yes.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
the
I
downfall.
remember. Yeah, I remember a few years ago seeing Zayo there, and Dan. I mean, just the echo that Dan's voice had in that building made it sound like he was a demon. Like it is nuts how loud that, especially the way Zayo was able to get that. I don't know if they just were naturally louder than everyone, but it was so loud in there when they played. And yeah, but it is that kind of venue. It's very echoey, but the vibe of it is just so cool where it almost kind of that's what you remember out of it rather than it being a little echoey.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely,
cool.
definitely.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to seeing you there playing again, probably you guys' maybe most popular album. So I think the turnout for it is gonna be nuts. Like I think you guys are just gonna pack the Shed and it's just gonna be one of the cooler shows.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It should be fun. I mean, anytime they ask us to come play, we definitely want to do it and try to make it happen.
Absolutely. Well, along the lines that, I know you mentioned at the beginning that, you just were in Arkansas rehearsing with the band and, it's been like 13 years since the last album. Is there like I mean, do you guys when you guys do rehearse, do you guys kind of tinker around and see like, oh, well, is there new stuff that we maybe could work on? Like, is any of that happening with you guys? Like, is that something that you guys want to do at some point? Like, I'm just kind of curious from like, when you guys get back, like, kind of do these rehearsals or practice, or maybe even when you guys are apart, like maybe there's just times where you're just playing a riff and you're like, ooh, that's a Living Sacrifice riff there. Like maybe the juices start flowing. I don't know. Like, is that a thing that is happening for you guys?
Definitely. Brock, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, there's definitely some tinkering around sometimes. So, hope
There's a lot of good ideas that we have to flesh out in the studio, and it's just a matter of time and availability and things like that. It's
Sounds like the motivation then is there for you guys to put up something at some point.
yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Love it. Love it. Well, whenever that happens, I can assure you I will gladly be one of the first people that listens if you would let me, because I'm really stoked about anything that would be new living sacrifice. I mean, that would be a big deal for you guys at this point. I mean, even if it wouldn't come out for another year or so, like, I mean, it would be a big deal for, something that come out 13, 14, however many years later after that last album.
Has it been that long since the
Yeah,
last thing?
yeah, it's pretty sad. I think we need to hold out for 20 years and just like, really, really just like make it special.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we got
I mean, have you guys
we got
even
7 more
have
years
you
to
even
record
released
that record.
anything?
What's that?
That's true. Well, I was just gonna like I know that there was the Lost song that came out like 8 years ago or whatever,
Hmm.
but like in terms of like new stuff, I'm trying to think if there's been anything since like 2013 or
No,
whenever.
nothing.
Wow. So
Boo.
we'll see. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. Well,
Yeah,
whenever it
we
does,
we we
yeah, I'm gonna be a big fan.
we always say we want to do it, and then, just gotta make it happen.
Well, I would imagine with like where I mean, let's be honest, y'all are getting a little older. I would imagine the amount of output you can do is probably going to be just as slow as these old bones move. So it's probably going to just take a little bit longer than normal than when you were in your 20s.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily it. I think it's just life and, desire to, you know, just make it happen and be creative. I mean, we don't have to play that fast anymore. We can write a slower metal song. Rocky's writing riffs all day long. That's his job. And he's definitely you know, put forth like some great demos, even specific to us. So it's really just about, taking the time to find the right situation studio wise, and pick a weekend, and, take the days and all that stuff. It's I mean,
Yeah, I would imagine
it's
like
definitely logistical as much as it is, creative, but also, the
right,
creativity has to be there. Like we're we you know at this point, I mean, we don't really want to put out anything that's like subpar at all, and so,
totally.
it's gotta meet like that threshold that we've set, over all the years.
Totally. That absolutely makes sense. So, well, whenever it does happen, I'm here for it. So I'm excited. So I'm sure it's probably still going to be a little bit of time, but I'm glad to know at least the creative juices are flowing and at least the motivation is there. So that's pretty sick.
Thanks, man.
So are you guys ready for top five? So Rocky, you will do top five most influential albums, and Bruce, you will do top guilty pleasure artists, your top five guilty pleasure artists. But Rocky, do you want to go first with your top five most influential albums?
Okay. I'm not sure this would be like in order, but I'll just try to go.
Oh, that's totally fine.
I'll go with And Justice for All, Metallica, South of Heaven,
Oh, what an album! I will say that we get a lot of Metallica, but that might be one of the ones that is lesser named.
That's too bad. Boom. What did I do?
It's a good one.
Slayer. We'll do Pantera, Vulgar Display of Power, Living Sacrifice, Self-Titled, and
Oh, of course.
Primus, Sailing the Seas.
Oh, okay.
How's that?
That's
I
sick.
never would have guessed you would have put
You are
Primus up there. That's
Doing it.
crazy. I mean, that's a great record
Yes, it is.
for sure.
that you are a metalhead through and through. Like that is as metal of a list as metal gets.
I agree.
Do you even listen to anything outside of metal?
Oh yeah, I was all kinds of stuff.
Are there like is there an album that has like maybe like really speaks to you that isn't actually a metal album, but like yeah, is there another like album that like is really, important for you but isn't metal?
Not that I can think of offhand, but I'm sure there is. I just
What
don't know
about
it.
what about some of the
Any
movie?
Depeche Mode?
What about some of the movie soundtrack stuff that you like the Stephen Carpenter, not Stephen Carpenter,
John Carpenter. I love all that stuff.
John Carpenter stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's almost
And
like
he wrote that stuff too, didn't he?
yeah. He writes it. He
What's that?
directs the
Say it again.
movie.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I was just, I was just, I'm, it's awesome that he writes, and I don't know if he records it, but he writes that stuff. That's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. That's that's as far as the movie composition stuff. That's that's the top guy for me,
Who,
John
who,
Carpenter. I think
who, who's your favorite modern guy, like out of like say John Williams or Hans Zimmer or somebody that I'm not familiar with?
somebody you're not familiar with.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I am familiar with it. I don't know. We don't know. But like when
I
I
don't.
think of movies, everybody thinks of John Williams and Hans Zimmer. You know what I'm saying? Because they're like the big ones, the big guys.
Right.
Who else?
I mean, Danny Elfman. He's still
Ah,
one of
yeah,
the.
yeah, that's a good one.
Mm.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Right on.
It's a good list. It's a good list. There does seem to sometimes be a metal slash like movie soundtrack crossover. I've like noticed like a lot of metal fans happen to also be really into either like classical music or just like movie soundtrack kind of music. So that's you're not the first person that I've that's a big metalhead who's also really into that stuff too. So, Bruce, you ready for guilty pleasures? Let's get a little list going of the albums, or maybe not necessarily the albums, but the artists that maybe you like to listen to, but people like Rocky are gonna make fun of you for it.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only person that gets made fun of in our band is Arthur because he deserves it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Arthur likes some really stupid music. Exactly.
And he's not even here to defend himself, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. He would just be like, he's like, oh man, whatever, dude. He listens to like country music and probably not even good country music, not like Chris Stapleton or
Oh,
anything like that. He just likes the goof.
you should hang out with my
He likes the
parents.
goofy stuff. And then I'm kidding. He likes a lot of good stuff, but he also likes a lot of, you know, whatever. Guilty pleasures, I don't even know. I mean, I grew up listening to hair metal, and that's like none of that stuff's cool anymore, but like Rat and Dawkins and
Oh yeah.
um I kind of fell off right around the time like Poison came out, but like and
Mm-hmm.
that's because that's when I started, definitely moving more heavy, like into thrash and stuff like that. So right
Mm-hmm.
around 87, my tastes were shifting. Plus when that Poison album came out, I didn't like the fact that I literally thought they were females on the cover, and I was like, these guys are trying to trick me, and I didn't like that. So
You're telling me you're not into Bret Michaels?
I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy and all, but I mean, he was I mean, he looked like a really good looking chick on that record, and so
Yeah.
And
But
so,
he was like balding then because he was definitely wearing that headband even then.
oh no, he wasn't. No, 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 he wasn't. He wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't?
No,
Okay.
no, he had a beautiful head of hair, and beautiful
He definitely lost it pretty quickly after.
pouty lips. He was a handsome man that looked like a woman. Anyways, I didn't like that. That was no good. Uh, uh,
Is there any
but
modern stuff that you're like, okay, I kind of like this, but I probably shouldn't, or like I'm at least gonna get made fun of for it?
no, nothing's off bounds, or out of
You're not a
bounds.
Swiftie?
What's that?
You're not a Swiftie?
No, like I really don't gravitate towards pop music at all. Like
Okay.
I don't know why, it just doesn't do anything for me. I mean, probably, some of the the weirder stuff that I listen to is like Radiohead and Sunny Day Real Estate
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, bands like that from like that are more just whatever experimental or whatever, just not heavy. And
Right.
and I I probably don't listen to a ton of metal these days. Definitely not newer bands. I don't some of the new stuff like is actually it sounds like it's blending pop elements, and like the singers, like they sound like they're really, good singers. They sound almost like a boy band type singing situation, but with heavy guitars. And
Mm-hmm.
just, I mean, it just doesn't do much for me or whatever. I mean, I know there's some killer bands out there. I'm just, I I just gravitate towards just older rock stuff, you know, and things like
Fair
that.
enough. I mean,
So guilty pleasure, I
I
don't
get it.
know. I don't, I would say the goofiest stuff I listened to was like, all the hair metal, you know, stuff that singing about
Yeah.
chicks and things like that. But, I mean, I was 14 at the time.
I will say DJ definitely missed his calling being in one of those bands because that dude looked like he could have been in Poison.
Definitely. 100%.
So, I mean, no, but he had to get stuck with you uglies. I'm just kidding.
Pretty much.
Well, anyway, well, my camera just
Oh,
here 1 second. Let me. Yep, you could if as long as you can hear me. But yeah, what do you guys want to plug?
well, we have a vinyl reissue coming out that Rocky remixed for our third album, Inhabit. We were able to get the tracks dumped from those were done on digital ADAT tapes to Pro Tools, and then sent off to Rocky. Rocky remixed the album. The album sounded pretty good to begin with, but it sounds even better now with like modern, you know, mixing capabilities and everything like that. But that vinyl is going to be coming out very soon. It's like one of the last of our reissues for the first three albums. We were trying to get it done for last year, which would have been the 30-year anniversary of that particular record. It came out in 1994. And yeah, new stuff coming, out, someday, 1 year.
In 1 year?
I mean, 1 year in the future. Could be next year, could be 2 years, could be 3, 4, 5 years. Who knows?
Okay. Okay. Love it. Well, I'm excited for it. Furnace Fest is going to be a heck of a show, so it'll be fun to see you guys there. And yeah, just love this album. Again, there's probably a reason why it might be your most popular. So just thanks so much for chatting more about the hammering process, and we'll see you in a couple months.
Awesome. Thanks, Mason.